Chapter 31, Catching Bullet with Bare Hands. Translator, Lord Bluefire. In the living room, outside Lu Yuan's door, 3 figures were assessing the surroundings with some light that shone in through the windows. Amongst the 3 of them, 2 of them were ruffians that Lu Yuan had taken care of previously. Their arms, which had been crushed by Lu Yuan, had been changed into mechanical arms. However, their countenances were still a little pale. The 2 of them assessed the surroundings nervously as if something would appear. The red-haired ruffian spoke up in a soft voice. "Big bro Pete, we have checked. That guy is a year 3 student from Rose High School. He's an orphan, so he can only rent a room here. However, he awakened as a gene fighter a few days ago. He's probably going to strike it rich soon." As the red-haired ruffian said this, his eyes revealed an envious gaze. In front of them, a brown-haired guy with a big stature sized up the surroundings and nodded expressionlessly. And, seeing how that guy is so interested in old Blade's death, he might know of something. We'll catch him and ask him. Moreover, he dared to raise a hand against our Black Rat Gang's members. Regardless if he's a student or not, he must be prepared for the consequences. Hearing this, the 2 ruffians looked touched and nodded vigorously. This apartment is a co-rent. Which room belongs to that kid? This, we don't know. Should we look through them one by one? Let's do that then. Pete nodded and a gun appeared in his hand. The other 2 ruffians also took out a gun each. The 3 of them, with killing intents in their eyes, held their guns and planned on searching for Lu Yuan's room one by one. In Li Qinghe's room, Li Qinghe, who was seated cross-legged on her bed with her eyes closed, opened her eyes. Her beautiful brows furrowed slightly, revealing an ice-cold killing intent. To think that some sewer rats have set their eyes on my place? They're courting deaths. She stood up, planning to head out. But all of a sudden, she paused, raised her brows, and revealed a slightly interested expression. In Lu Yuan's room, he heard the sound of a door opening and frowned. This was the slums. Having their door opened in the middle of the night probably meant that there was a break-in. Break-in robberies happened everywhere in this place. If the robbers were displeased, many of them would kill during the robbery. Lu Yuan had stayed here for some time. Hence, even though he hadn't encountered something like this before, he had heard of many such occurrences. If it was in the past, he'd feel a little scared. But now, a hint of coldness flashed in Lu Yuan's eyes. He opened the door and walked out. In the living room, Pete and the 2 ruffians who were planning to start their search heard the sound, and they looked toward Lu Yuan. After seeing Lu Yuan, the 2 ruffians instinctively opened their eyes wide, and a hint of nervousness and fear flashed in them. The mechanical arms that they had just installed somehow gave off vague signs of pain. At this moment, the red-haired ruffian quickly pointed at Lu Yuan and said, "Big bro Pete. It's him. He's that guy." When Lu Yuan saw the 2 ruffians, he couldn't help but frown, revealing a cold smile. "It's the 2 of you? Even though I let the 2 of you off, it seems that you aren't treasuring the chance. Humph. Kid, don't think that we'll be the same as we were in the morning. You're a goner. Prepare to die. Our Black Rat Gang won't let off anyone who dares to harm our gang." However, Pete paid no heed to the 2 ruffians. He raised his gun and wore a cold expression. "Kid, come with us." Lu Yuan took a look at Pete's gun and smiled. "What if I say no?" Pete narrowed his eyes. "This is an order, not a request. I know that you are a gene fighter, but you just awakened, right? Gun isn't something you can fend off." Lu Yuan smiled. His body instantly moved. His speed surged tremendously, and he charged toward Pete as well as the other 2. Pete's pupils contracted and he decisively pulled the trigger at Lu Yuan. Bang! The sound of a gunshot rang through the night. However, at the next instant, Pete opened his eyes wide, revealing an expression of disbelief. Lu Yuan's palm, which had turned pitch black, grabbed onto the gun barrel. When the gunshot rang out, the bullet was stopped by Lu Yuan. When Pete was astonished, Lu Yuan used force and flattened the barrel. The gun was immediately destroyed. As Lu Yuan drew his hand back, a flat bullet landed on his palm, making a crisp sound. "That's impossible. How can one catch a bullet with their bare hands when they have just awakened?" Pete opened his eyes wide, his expression in disbelief. Lu Yuan took a look at his palm. Some skin in the center of his palm had been scratched, and there was a little bleeding. However, it was just a superficial wound. The black iron body's defense had never disappointed him. The killing prowess of this gun was limited to begin with. Therefore, its damage to the black iron body wasn't big either. Right now, Lu Yuan raised his head and looked at the astonished Pete. He smiled. "What's impossible about that? Aren't you seeing this for yourself?" He took a look at Pete and the 2 ruffians. "Do you still remember that I told you not to show your faces around me again?" When the 2 ruffians heard Lu Yuan's words, they returned to their senses. They quickly raised their guns and pointed them at Lu Yuan. What do you want? Don't come over. Lu Yuan then put out his hands quickly and grabbed the two ruffians' guns. Seeing this, the two ruffians broke into savage expressions, not caring about anything and wanting to shoot. However, Lu Yuan's speed was faster than the two of them, ordinary people. He grabbed the guns and raised them. Bang bang bang. The sound of gunshots rang out repetitively, and the bullets hit the ceiling. Very soon, the gunshot sounds ended. The two ruffians pulled the trigger hard but realized that there were no more bullets. After that, Lu Yuan exerted force with both of his hands. As a result, the piercing sound of metal rubbing together rang out, and the guns' barrels were flattened by Lu Yuan. He let go of the guns and broke into a smile. When the two ruffians saw this smile, their bodies trembled furiously as they wore fearful expressions. The green-haired ruffian shouted something and threw the destroyed gun toward Lu Yuan with all his might. He then turned and wanted to flee. Lu Yuan caught the gun and threw it back. It then hit the green-haired ruffian on the back, and the sound of breaking bones rang out. The green-haired ruffian fell forward and kept on convulsing on the ground. Seeing this, the red-haired ruffian looked horrified. Even Pete, who had been cold and aloof earlier, had cold sweat all over now. After that, Pete grabbed the red-haired ruffian and pushed him toward Lu Yuan. He, on the other hand, ran in the direction of the window. He pounced forcefully, broke the window, and jumped out of the room. Meanwhile, the red-haired ruffian hadn't expected that Pete would push him toward Lu Yuan. His eyes were wide open, filled with perplexity. Lu Yuan kicked the red-haired ruffian in the chest. The sound of bones breaking rang out, and the red-haired ruffian flew out, smashing heavily into the wall. He then dropped to the ground and kept on convulsing. Lu Yuan didn't even take a look at him. He went to the window and saw that Pete had landed and was running out. Lu Yuan raised his brows slightly. Lu Yuan lived on the 3rd floor. Although it wasn't far from the 1st floor, it wasn't considered a short distance either. Normal people would have gotten hurt if they were to jump down. He didn't expect this person to still be alive and kicking. Hence, Lu Yuan propped his hand against the sill and jumped down too. After landing with ease, Lu Yuan chased after Pete with erupted speed. Seeing that Lu Yuan had come chasing after him, Pete turned and threw out a small knife toward him. Lu Yuan caught the knife and threw it back. Swoosh! The small knife moved at an extremely fast speed and flew toward Pete's chest. All of a sudden, Pete's eyes became vertical slits. He then tumbled toward the side and dodged the knife. Lu Yuan's eyes narrowed. Turned out that this guy was a gene fighter too. It was just that he didn't seem too strong, and the gene he engraved and recorded wasn't inclined toward attacks either. Hence, Lu Yuan increased his speed and caught up to Pete after running for tens of meters. He punched out toward Pete's back. In return, Pete turned and put both arms up to form a block. As a result, Lu Yuan's fist hit Pete's arms. Bang! A stifled sound rang out and Pete let out a stifled snort. His face turned pale and he spurted out blood. His body swayed a little as he took 2 steps back. At this moment, Lu Yuan arrived in front of him once again, swinging his fist. Hold on. I surrender. I have something to say, Pete suddenly shouted. Lu Yuan squinted his eyes, his fist stopping in front of Pete. Gulp! Looking at the fist that was right before his eyes, Pete gulped and cold sweat dripped down his face. Lu Yuan withdrew his fist, looked at Pete, and broke into a smile. What is it? Let's see if it can save your life. Pete tugged his lips, took in a deep breath, then said, Friend, you want information about that black shadow? Lu Yuan's pupils contracted. He looked at Pete and asked, smiling. You know about it? Although our Black Rat gang isn't the biggest gang in the entire slums, we are well informed and know a little about it. Moreover, we have members who are victims to it as well, so we've been looking for information on that thing too. Tell me what you know, friend. After I tell you, can you let me off? Do you believe that I'll kill you right now? I'll talk right away. Pete quickly raised both hands and wore a currying smile. Chapter 32, Night Watchers, Lowly Stink Bugs. Translator, Lord Bluefire. Lu Yuan looked at Pete and said, Hurry up. Feeling lost, Pete put down his hands and answered. Our Black Rat gang has been investigating this black shadow in the entire slums during this period, and it's true that we've made some discoveries. 4 to 5 years ago, there were already witnesses who had seen that black shadow harming people in the slums. But back then, there were few deaths and not many witnesses either. However, in the past 2 years, the number of deaths has increased. Amongst just the cases that our Black Rat gang discovered, over 100 people had been killed by that black shadow last year. The numbers are probably higher this year. Over 100 people? So many? There's more this year. Lu Yuan opened his eyes wide, a little stunned. The number of annual deaths in the slums wasn't just this. However, the rest were mostly deaths due to situations like gang fights, starvation, or illnesses. To be killed by this strange thing, amongst the cases found out by the Black Rat Gang, over 100 was considered a lot. Didn't anyone inform the Night Watchers about this abnormal situation? The Night Watchers was a government organization that was established specially to deal with mutations, spies from outsider races, and other abnormal situations. It wasn't just for the Red Maple Empire. Other countries had also established an organization similar to the Night Watchers Department. In Lu Yuan's opinion, they were similar to special police or secret agents. A situation like this was considered to be very serious. Lu Yuan couldn't understand why no one had informed the Night Watchers to deal with it. Pete shrugged. In the eyes of those high and lofty characters, people from the slums are just lowly stink bugs. Why would they care for our lives? So many people die here every year. It's just over 100 people in a year now. Therefore, it'd naturally not attract their attention. Lu Yuan frowned slightly. If such abnormal situations aren't reported to the Night Watchers Department, the local officials will be punished, right? Who said that it wasn't reported? Our people from the Black Rat Gang who work in the government office said that it had been reported last year. However, there hadn't been any action taken. That's why I say that those important characters won't care about us. Pete grinned. But that thing seems to only target ordinary people and don't harbor thoughts against gene fighters like us. Maybe it can't hurt us? That's why, friend, you don't have to be too worried. Lu Yuan smiled. That thing came to look for me a few days back. If it wasn't because I'm quite strong, I'd have died. Pete? He opened his eyes wide and looked at Lu Yuan, stunned. Both of them looked at each other and fell silent for a moment. Pete gulped and laughed dryly. That doesn't sound good. From only targeting ordinary people, to starting to target gene fighters, anyone would know that this thing had probably gone through quite a big change. Is there any other information? Lu Yuan continued to ask. Pete shook his head. There isn't. Our Black Rat Gang is also very curious about this thing, so we're actively investigating it. We've only managed to find this much during this time. Lu Yuan nodded and said, smiling. Then I can send you on your way now. Pete was surprised and quickly took 2 steps back. Hold on. Friend. This is different from what we agreed on. Didn't you say that you'd let me go after I'm done talking? Lu Yuan tilted his head. When did I say that? I only said that if you didn't talk, I'd kill you on the spot. You've lived for a little longer. You should be thankful. Lu Yuan walked toward Pete. Pete opened his eyes wide, cold sweat breaking out on his forehead as he kept backing off. Hold on. Friend. Let's talk it out. We can sit down and have a good talk. His eyes suddenly opened wide as he thought of something. That's right. Hold on. I'm still useful to you. Lu Yuan raised his brows slightly. What use? Look, haven't you been targeted by that black shadow? Based on what I know, no one who had been targeted by that black shadow managed to survive. You must not want to be a victim to it either, right? Lu Yuan's heart sank. To be honest, he was still feeling a little scared. After all, that thing did seem very eerie, and he had no idea if it would continue to target him. It was because of this that Lu Yuan was so concerned about that black shadow. Otherwise, what would it matter to him? Seeing Lu Yuan stop, Pete was elated and quickly continued. Our Black Rat Gang has a lot of powers and information networks that you don't have. As long as you let me off, I'll definitely inform you at the first instance if our Black Rat Gang obtains any information. Don't you think that this is a good deal? Lu Yuan looked at Pete and fell silent. To be honest, he was a little tempted. After all, he was just a poor student and his influences would definitely not be able to compare to a local gang. With the Black Rat Gang to help investigate things, it'd be beneficial for him. Seeing that Lu Yuan was a little tempted, Pete continued. Moreover, friend, look, our Black Rat Gang has quite a big influence in the slums. If you wish to join a gang in the future, scram! Lu Yuan glared at Pete. He wasn't going to join these strange organizations. He then said, I can let you go this once, but you must inform me about that black shadow at the first instance. Otherwise, you'll know the consequences. Seeing that Lu Yuan agreed, Pete quickly nodded. I've got it. I'll definitely inform you at the first instance. Lu Yuan took out his phone and smiled at Pete. Give me your contact information. Pete smiled and took out his phone. They added each other as friends by scanning the QR code. Only then did Lu Yuan notice that he had another friend request on his phone. He looked at the remark. Zhuoming. It was the classmate he had met in the Sandstone Underground Palace. Lu Yuan clicked approve. After adding Pete as a friend, Lu Yuan put his phone away. Pete heaved a sigh of relief and kept on smiling humbly at Lu Yuan. At this moment, Lu Yuan smiled and said, You'll deal with the 2 people up there, right? Pete quickly nodded. Don't worry and leave it to me. I'll take care of them. Come up with me. Lu Yuan brought Pete back to the apartment. The entire building was dead silent without any sound. It'd be impractical to say that no one had heard the consecutive sound of gunshots earlier. It was just that when encountering such situations in the slums, the safest way was to keep quiet and lay low. Being meddlesome would cost one their life. This was the law of survival for those in the slums. At this moment, Lu Yuan opened the door to the rental apartment and saw Li Qinghe walking out of her room. She was wearing a plain white nightgown, looking warily at the two ruffians on the floor. She was holding onto her phone, looking a little shocked. Lu Yuan was stunned for a moment. Elder sister Qinghe, why did you come out? When Li Qinghe saw Lu Yuan, her eyes lit up and she revealed a surprised smile. Little bro Yuan, I woke up after hearing the sound of gunshots. Thereafter, there weren't any further commotions for very long and I wanted to come out to see if you're alright. I also called the police. Lu Yuan's heart felt warm. If it was any other people, who'd risk their life and show him concern. The doors of the other two rooms in the apartment were still shut tightly, and it was very quiet inside, as if they were empty. He smiled and said, I'm fine. Elder sister Qinghe, don't worry. Hold on for a bit. I'll take care of this situation first. Li Qinghe nodded. She took a look at Pete and said, I'll head back to my room first then. She returned to her room and closed the door. After that, Lu Yuan turned to look toward Pete. You can deal with them. Pete nodded and squatted in front of the two ruffians. The red-haired ruffian was already unconscious. Meanwhile, although the green-haired ruffian had a lot of broken bones, he was still awake. When he saw Pete coming over, his eyes lit up and revealed a hopeful expression. Big bro Pete. Pete took a look at the green-haired ruffian and then, without any expression, reached out his hand to press down the green-haired ruffian's neck. Under the green-haired ruffian's gaze of disbelief, he exerted force in his hand. Gotcha. The green-haired ruffian died on the spot. Pete then ended the life of the unconscious red-haired ruffian as well. He turned and smiled at Lu Yuan. Mr. Lu, I'll be bringing away their corpses then? Lu Yuan nodded. Pete lifted the two corpses, one in each hand. Just as Pete was planning to head out, Lu Yuan spoke up once again. Oh, right, the money for fixing the window? He was very poor right now and didn't have the money to fix the window. Moreover, he was thinking about buying genetic potions. I'll fix it. I'll fix it. I'll transfer the money to the landlord. Lu Yuan nodded in satisfaction. You can go back then. Remember to inform me on any news about that thing. Don't worry, Mr. Lu. I'll definitely inform you at the first instance. Lu Yuan nodded in satisfaction. After Pete carried the two corpses and left, Lu Yuan closed the door gently after him. Lu Yuan then let out an exhale and looked out of the window. The night right before daylight was the darkest. Only those brilliant neon lights remained the same. Lu Yuan went silent for a moment before knocking on Li Qinghe's door. Li Qinghe seemed to have been waiting by the door. At the first knock, the door was opened. Little bro Yuan, what was that just now? Chapter 33, Gene Fighters in the Class, Important Character. Translator, Lord Bluefire. It's nothing. They are people from the Black Rat Gang. They wanted to make trouble for me, but I defeated them. Black Rat Gang? A gleam flashed in Li Qinghe's eyes. She then opened her eyes wide, revealing a surprised and scared expression. That's a very big gang. Will you be fine in the future? Lu Yuan shook his head. It's fine. They won't come to make trouble for me anymore in the future. Lu Yuan had understood about the Black Rat Gang's power when he came back with Pete. For such gangs in the slums, the strongest leader was only a Tier 1 fighter, and a probational fighter like Pete was already a member of the upper echelon in the Black Rat Gang. That made sense. How would powerful gene fighters stay holed up in a place like the slums? Status, reputation, money. As long as it was something they wanted, they'd get it. Hence, Lu Yuan wasn't really scared of Tier 1 fighters. Moreover, a Tier 1 fighter wouldn't come to deal with him over something trivial like this. Hearing Lu Yuan's words, Li Qinghe heaved a sigh of relief, no longer feeling nervous. She looked at Lu Yuan curiously. Little bro Yuan, why did they come to look for trouble? Lu Yuan fell silent for a moment. He was wondering if he should tell Li Qinghe about the matter concerning the Black Shadow. Thereafter, he thought of how the Black Shadow seemed to be appearing with increasing frequency in the slums. So it should be fine to tell Li Qinghe about it so that she could pay more attention. He said, it's like this. A strange black shadow has been appearing in the slums recently. The black shadow would possess someone, and the target would die of sudden death. This morning, I heard that a member of the Black Rat Gang had encountered that black shadow and I asked them a little about it. I didn't expect them to come looking for me at night. Li Qinghe's pupils contracted slightly. She then revealed a scared expression. She hugged her shoulders with her arms. I didn't expect that there's such a strange thing. It couldn't be a ghost, could it? How could there be any ghosts? Lu Yuan couldn't help but laugh when he saw Li Qinghe being scared. It should be some eerie stuff, maybe mutated beings or something. Lu Yuan frowned and said, usually, things like these should be handled by night watchers. It's a pity that I heard that even though the officials have reported the matter, no night watchers have come to take over the case. Lu Yuan shook his head. There's a reason why the slums are so chaotic. Li Qinghe smiled and said, maybe the night watchers have come? It's just that we haven't discovered them. Li Qinghe looked at Li Qinghe, a little puzzled. How does elder sister Qinghe know? I'm just guessing. After all, if it's really a mutation incident or something like that, the night watchers would definitely not leave things be, right? Li Qinghe smiled and answered. Lu Yuan gave it some thought and felt that it made sense. He then nodded. I hope that's really the case. If the night watchers could handle the case, then he wouldn't need to worry or feel scared. Alright, since things are fine now, then I'll be continuing to sleep. It's rare for me to get some beauty sleep at night. Li Qinghe covered her mouth and yawned, looking very sleepy. Elder sister Qinghe can continue to get some rest then. Lu Yuan smiled. Good night. You should get some rest too. Li Qinghe waved her hand at Lu Yuan and then closed the door. Lu Yuan returned to the room and checked the time. It was already slightly past 5 a.m. The sky was going to light up very soon, and Lu Yuan couldn't be bothered to continue cultivating. Moreover, there was also a light chat message. It was from Zhuoming. Lu Yuan opened it to take a look. Classmate Lu Yuan, you're so amazing. You're already so strong when you only awakened for a week. Classmate Lu Yuan, I'll add you into a group. It's the Gene Fighters group for those in our class. The members are all Gene Fighters of our class. If they know of your strength, they'll definitely be given a big shock. Ha ha ha, classmate Lu Yuan? Classmate Lu Yuan, are you there, boss Lu Yuan? The messages had been sent from when Lu Yuan had accepted the friend request. After a few messages were sent and there were no replies from Lu Yuan, Zhuoming sent another message after 10 or so minutes. Lu Yuan was helpless. He had been busy handling the matter with Pete previously and didn't have the time to check his phone. Now, he sent a reply. I had something to do earlier and didn't check my phone. A few seconds after Lu Yuan sent out the message, Zhuoming replied. So classmate Lu Yuan was busy. I was wondering why you weren't replying. Hurry up and join the group. I have been boasting in the group, saying that you're very strong but they don't believe me. Zhuoming sent another invitation link to the group chat. Future Battle Gods group. Lu Yuan? What kind of name is this? Battle Gods? Is this suitable? There were no battle gods at all amongst the entire human race. His lips couldn't help but twitch. However, he still tapped on accept. After all, this group name was prepared for him. Wasn't he, Lu Yuan, going to be the future human battle god? He had just entered the group when Zhuoming called out. Welcome the new battle god, boss Lu Yuan, joining. Red packet please. After Zhuoming said this, another few messages darted out. Welcome the new battle god, boss Lu Yuan, joining. Red packet please. Welcome the new battle god, boss Lu Yuan, joining. Red packet please. Welcome the new battle god, boss Lu Yuan, joining. Red packet please. Lu Yuan. The many one caused him to almost not be able to hold it in and want to tap on it. However, he was the battle god himself and needed to be reserved. As for the red packets, he ignored the requests directly. He was someone who stayed in the slums. Why were these people so thick-skinned to be asking him for red packets? Lu Yuan then looked at their names. Zhuoming, Wang Xiangxiang, Guyu, Wen-ni. Lu Yuan had an impression of these names. Zhuoming and Guyu were males, while Wang Xiangxiang and Wen-ni were females. Of which, Zhuoming and Wen-ni had awakened last year in their second year of high school. Wang Xiangxiang and Guyu, on the other hand, had awakened back in year 1 of high school. He recalled from the memories belonging to the original owner of this body that both Wang Xiangxiang and Wen-ni were beauties. He had an especially deep impression of Wang Xiangxiang's long legs. Zhuoming sent another message. Chao Yan and Emoli * seems to still be in the land of origins and haven't come out yet. They won't be able to welcome the new battle god. Lu Yuan heard two more familiar names. Chao Yan and Emoli had also awakened back in year 1 of high school. In year 1 of high school, 4 students from their class had awakened. And in year 2, 2 had awakened. In year 3, Lu Yuan was the only one. Compared to the other class, their rate of awakening was considered quite high. However, Chao Yan and Wang Xiangxiang came from families of gene fighters, their parents were gene fighters. As a result, the chances of their children becoming gene fighters would be a lot higher. Therefore, the two of them didn't really count. There were only 4 from ordinary families that had awakened. Wang Xiangxiang, at Lu Yuan, little Kid Ming said that you're very strong? Are you really very strong? Lu Yuan was stunned. He thought that Zhuo Ming had been joking earlier. He didn't expect that Zhuo Ming had really said that. Guyu, Zhuo Ming must be boasting again. Classmate Lu Yuan has just awakened. How strong can he be? He should only have a refinement rate of 5% at max. When little Kid Ming, come out and get beaten. Zhuo Ming wrote, no, I was speaking the truth. Lu Yuan is really very amazing. King encountered 3 hunters in the sandstone underground palace. If it wasn't for classmate Lu Yuan's help, I'd have come out dead again. Wang Xiang, haha, Guyu, haha, when haha, Zhuo Ming, at Lu Yuan, boss. Say something. Lu Yuan smiled and replied, what Zhuo Ming said is right. It's true that I encountered 3 catfolk hunters previously. It was also then that I encountered Zhuo Ming. The group fell silent for a moment. Zhuo Ming, ha ha ha. You guys hear that? Classmate Lu Yuan said that too. Wang Xiang, is that true? You really encountered hunters? It has only been a week since you awakened, but you can survive despite encountering hunters? When if this is true, then classmate Lu Yuan must have engraved and recorded an extraordinary gene. Moreover, it must be a very strong one. Lu Yuan took a look at Wenni's message. He didn't expect this person to be quite sharp. However, there was no way he could hide this. Zhuo Ming wasn't a fool either and could tell from one look that Lu Yuan had definitely engraved and recorded a high-level extraordinary gene. It seemed that his current capabilities were quite high. But thankfully, he could only be considered a genius, and the progress wasn't too preposterous. Geniuses tended to be out of the ordinary. Moreover, although they were low in numbers, there'd always be some. He could just act like a genius. So what if he were to play the role of a genius in the future Battle Gods group? It'd be strange if he wasn't one. He smiled and replied. Classmate when is right. It's true that I have engraved and recorded an extraordinary gene. Moreover, it's an elite grade 1. A commotion broke out in the group. Zhuo Ming, ha 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 ha. I knew it. The battle technique Boss Lu performed previously is definitely an elite grade 1. It's too strong. That defense alone is preposterous. Guyu, F***ck. What a boss. I'm envious. The one I engraved and recorded is a common grade extraordinary gene. When mine is also a common grade extraordinary gene. For Boss Lu Yuan to get an elite grade extraordinary gene right from the start, you'll be soaring in the future. Your foundation is so good. Wang Xiang, can Boss Lu Yuan help to carry me? I'll show you black stocking photos. Lu Yuan, black stocking photos? Was he, Lu Yuan, such a person? He replied in anger. How many? Footnote. 1. Molly, different from Molly, catfolk. Chapter 34, future major character is next to me? Translator, Lord Bluefire. The atmosphere fell silent for a moment. Wang Xiang, angry.jpg, angry.jpg, angry.jpg. She sent a series of emojis before sending a message. You took it seriously? I was only kidding. I'm in Storm City, a different initial city from where you're at. Moreover, my refinement rate is already at 98%. Lu Yuan was stunned for a moment, feeling a little awkward. Wang Xiang was already so strong? Lu Yuan then recalled that Wang Xiang had awakened in year 1 of high school. Moreover, she also came from a family of gene fighters, and they'd definitely be able to help her out a lot. It had been almost 2 years, so it was very reasonable for her to almost reach a breakthrough to tier 1. He said seriously. You think I didn't know that you were kidding? I was kidding as well. Did you actually take it seriously? That couldn't be, right? Wang Xiang, Zhuo Ming, at Lu Yuan, as expected of the boss. My idol. To think that you dare to make a pass at elder sister Xiang, Guyu, at Lu Yuan, as expected of the boss. My idol. To think that you dare to make a pass at elder sister Xiang. Wang Xiang, little Kid Ming, little Kid Yu, do you guys want to die? Zhuo Ming, cough, why don't we talk about something else? When oh, right, we haven't met classmate Lu Yuan before. When should we have a gathering? Guyu, I feel that it's a good suggestion. Classmate Lu Yuan is already a boss, so shouldn't he give us a treat? Wang Xiang, smirk.jpg, that's fine. I want to go to the 9 Lakes Grand Restaurant. Lu Yuan, please sell me. I don't have money. The 9 Lakes Grand Restaurant was the highest class restaurant in the entire Shili city. It was a place even someone like him, who was from the slums, knew about. To have him treat them there? What was she thinking? He couldn't afford it at all. Wang Xiang, just kidding, just kidding. There are many places in which gene fighters have to spend money. Just treat us to something simple. Oh right, let's wait until little Kid Yan and Lily come out. When agree. Zhuo Ming, That's decided then. I shall not eat from today onward and will wait for boss to give us a treat. Lu Yuan, sure, don't eat. Guyu, if Big Bro Chow can come out alive this time around, he should be close to having a refinement rate of 95%, right? Zhuoming, I'm so envious. I'm only at 36% now. When NI, that's considered good. I'm only at 33%. If this goes on, it'll be a little hard for me to reach 35% before the college entrance examination. Guyu, how much is yours? Guyu, I'm at 64%. I can't compare to elder sister Xiang and Big Bro Chow. Zhuoming, that isn't bad either. Given your refinement rate, in addition to having engraved and recorded an extraordinary gene, you'll be able to get into a mid-level gene fighter academy. However, it would be hard for me and when NI. Wang Xiang, if you can continue to come out alive from your future trips to the land of origins, little Kid Ming and when NI still have a chance of reaching a 50% refinement rate. Zhuoming, cry.jpg, it isn't that easy to come out alive from the land of origins. Those ferocious beasts and other fighters in the land of origins aren't humane at all. All of them just want to kill you. It has been a year since King awakened, but I only came out alive 10 times. This time around, I'd have come out dead too if it wasn't for Brother Yuan. When NI, if it really doesn't work, my dad plans on spending money to buy me a batch of spirit crystals. At the very least, I'll be able to raise my refinement rate with them. Zhuoming, at when NI. Rich lady. I'm hungry. Food. When NI, smile.jpg, scram. Wang Xiang, at when NI, you'll have to be fast then. The college entrance examination is nearing after all. When NI, I know. Wang Xiang, sigh.jpg, it's hard for me too. The difficulty of breaking the genetic lock is too much. It's hard to get my hands on the materials I need within a short period. If I can make a breakthrough to Tier 1, then I may be able to fight for a chance to enter one of the top 10 gene fighter academies. Guyu, is this what a boss is? While we're fretting over how to come out from the land of origins alive, she is already considering how to break the genetic lock. We're all humans, so why is our difference so big? I'm sorry to be born as a human. Sob.jpg, when NI, is this what a boss is? While we're fretting over how to come out from the land of origins alive, she is already considering how to break the genetic lock. We're all humans, so why is our difference so big? I'm sorry to be born as a human. Sob.jpg, Zhuoming, is this what a boss is? While we're fretting over how to come out from the land of origins alive, she is already considering how to break the genetic lock. We're all humans, so why is our difference so big? I'm sorry to be born as a human. Sob.jpg, Lu Yuan, is this what a boss is? While we're fretting over how to come out from the land of origins alive, she is already considering how to break the genetic lock. We're all humans, so why is our difference so big? I'm sorry to be born as a human. Sob.jpg, Lu Yuan, who had been silent while reading the chat, couldn't help but repeat what the other three said. After seeing Lu Yuan's message, Zhuoming asked curiously, "Oh right, Brother Yuan, what is your refinement rate?" Lu Yuan, mine is lower than all of you guys. I'm only at 10%. Wang Xiang, when NI, Guyu, Zhuoming? Lu Yuan was a little puzzled. What's wrong? Wang Xiang, it has only been a week since King awakened, right? You're already at 10%? Guyu, why are you so fast? Zhuoming, I suddenly don't understand if it's Brother Yuan who's too strong or if it's just me who is too weak. When NI, this speed is too scary. If this continues on, with there being about 2 months or so to the college entrance examination, won't you be able to strive for Tier 1? Scream.jpg, Lu Yuan, maybe it's because my efficiency of absorbing spirit energy is higher. I heard someone say that I'm a genius. Moreover, a large part of the spirit crystals he depleted was used on the evolution cube. Wang Xiang, if this is really the case, then Lu Yuan, you're really a genius. Moreover, you aren't an ordinary genius. Your speed can catch up to the members of the major clans. Really, if you can continue like this, you'll definitely be able to become a major character. You might even be able to become a battle general or a battle lord. Zhuoming, battle lord? F***ck. To think that a future major character is right next to me? When NI, boss, can I hug your leg in advance? Guyu, which leg * do you want to hug? Zhuoming, old Gu, something isn't right with what you said. When NI, Guyu was banned from sending messages for 24 hours. Wang Xiang, alright, it's quiet now. I'll go beat little kid you up later. Zhuoming, candle.jpg, pray.jpg, I hope that he won't be fine. Lu Yuan looked at the messages in the group chat and his lips curled up. He hadn't known previously that the awakened gene fighters from his class were all very talented. Everyone continued to chat for a while, talking about things related to the land of origins. Wang Xiangxiang and Chao Yan came from gene fighter families and had help, so they did quite well. Things were a little harder for the others. They'd always come out dead from the land of origins. In 1 year, it was hard for them to even have 10 or more times in which they could come out alive. Hence, their progress was slower. Of course, compared to ordinary cultivation, it was still a lot faster. After all, most people's speed of absorbing spirit qi was really mediocre. There weren't many geniuses like Lu Yuan. They chatted until the sky gradually turned bright. At this moment, Lu Yuan got out of the group chat and opened a browser to start searching for information about the ferocious beasts in the sandstone underground palace. Very soon, he found the information in a post for newbies. Sandstone City Ferocious Beasts Illustrated Handbook. Lu Yuan's eyes lit up and he clicked on the post. Thereafter, his expression turned grim. To think that it was a pay-to-read post. The cost was $3,000. Isn't this robbery? Even if I were to die, I wouldn't pay this money. Lu Yuan was a little unwilling to accept this. He left the post and continued searching. After searching for a very long time, Lu Yuan found a few other posts about the ferocious beasts in Sandstone City. However, they were all pay-to-read posts. The first one he saw was the cheapest. Lu Yuan was helpless and could only go back to the first post. Isn't it just $3,000? It's not as if I can't afford it. Thankfully, he still had $4,000 or so in his bank account. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to pay for it even if he wanted to. This post is an illustrated handbook on the ferocious beasts in the Sandstone City, an initial city. Note, this post only includes common ferocious beasts. Some unique ferocious beasts aren't included. Lu Yuan took a look at the first line and his lips couldn't help but twitch. However, he could understand this. After all, the land of origins was too big and there were too many varieties of ferocious beasts. Some ferocious beasts hadn't even been encountered by gene fighters before. Hence, it was understandable for them to not know what those ferocious beasts were. Greystone beetle, common grade ferocious beast. The weakest ferocious beast in Sandstone City. It is primarily distributed in the Greystone Forest but can also be found in other areas. It is weak, its food is rocks, and its speed is very slow. Newbie benefit. Black Rune Greystone Beetle, elite grade ferocious beast. Primarily lives in the Greystone Forest. It is weaker amongst elite grade ferocious beasts and is about as strong as a gene fighter who has a 40 to 60% refinement rate of a common grade gene. Possess battle technique, stone skin, metal beetle, common grade ferocious beast. Primarily lives in the depths of the Greystone Forest. They are lower in numbers and they are stronger than Greystone beetles. They have strong defense and slow speed. Small stoneman, black scorpion, underground palace sand ants. The entire post listed several hundred types of ferocious beasts, out of which, over 100 of them were from the Sandstone Underground Palace. These included the small stone men and black scorpions he had met before, as well as the Underground Palace sand ants, black line snakes, Underground Palace sand kueis, and others. There was information on their unique traits, power, and which parts were more valuable. After reading this, Lu Yuan suddenly felt that the money was worth spending. After knowing about the types of ferocious beasts in the Sandstone Underground Palace, Lu Yuan felt a lot more confident. There were some ferocious beasts in which even if he were to encounter them now, he could only flee. Otherwise, he'd die. If it was in the past, he might foolishly charge up to them since he didn't know those ferocious beasts. Lu Yuan gave it some thought and then wanted to buy a map of the Underground Palace. Although the ferocious beasts' nests and resting places in the Underground Palace would move at different durations, if there were no major changes to the passageways, there wouldn't be any tremendous changes. After buying a map, the chances of getting lost would become a lot lower. However, after he opened up the post for purchasing the map, the $10,000 cost caused him to fall silent. He only had slightly over $1,000 left in his pocket. Thankfully, he still had some materials in his space that he hadn't sold. Reading the Ferocious Beast Illustrated Handbook post earlier took him 2 hours, so it wasn't early anymore. The shops should be open right now. He should go sell the materials first. Hence, Lu Yuan switched off the computer and went out. Maybe due to the matter from last night, all the other people in the co-rental apartment hid in their rooms. None of them went out. Lu Yuan took a look at the tightly shut doors and didn't think much about it. He left the rental apartment and took a taxi to the Nine Lakes business district. Footnote 1. The male P***NIS is sometimes referred to as the third leg. Chapter 35, Genetic Potions. Translator, Lord Bluefire. In the Nine Lakes business district's Quang Lang materials shop, Lu Yuan had just opened the door and entered when he saw the boss in sunglasses sitting on the chair in front of the counter. He was dressed in flowery shorts and a big shirt. Just like the previous time, the boss was playing with his phone, muttering curses. Damn it, a bunch of newbies. This big bro can't even carry you guys to a win with all the killings. Why the hell are you guys playing? Go back home and do your homework. Woof woof woof. Howl howl howl. Lu Yuan's lips twitched. Boss, I'm here to sell goods. The boss looked up and took a look. After seeing Lu Yuan, he put his phone away and spoke, smiling. It's you? You came out alive from the land of origins again? Not bad, bro. You're quite capable to be able to survive twice in a row. Lu Yuan smiled. There's quite a bit of material this time around. Do I just throw them on the floor? The boss nodded. Sure, just throw them on the floor. Lu Yuan took out all sorts of materials he stored in his battle tattoo space. Instantly, a small mountain of materials that were over 2 meters high filled up the empty space in the store, which wasn't big in the first place. Boss. He looked up at the small mountain-like pile of materials and couldn't help but open his mouth, feeling stunned. Lu Yuan looked at him. How is it? Why don't you give a price for them? Soon after, the boss came back to his senses. He then turned toward Lu Yuan, looking a little astonished. Woof bro, you killed all these by yourself? Lu Yuan was speechless. Is this important? Hurry up and do a count. The boss then took another look at Lu Yuan before saying, true, that's not important. Hold on. He started counting the items in front of Lu Yuan. Greystone armor shell. This is a small stoneman's heart? Bro, you can already hunt small stone men? That's amazing. SSS. Black scorpion venomous metasoma? This thing isn't bad. Its venom is very strong. Moreover, there are so many of them. You couldn't have gone bankrupt purchasing detoxification potions, right? It has only been a day, but you look like a completely different person. The boss seemed like he wouldn't stop. He kept on counting while muttering away. Lu Yuan was getting a bit of a headache listening to him. He looked at the surroundings and sat on a small stool as he watched the boss counting. Since there were quite a lot of things, it took him over 10 minutes to finish counting all the materials. However, when the boss saw the black rune stone armor shell at the very bottom, he gasped in surprise once again. Wow! This is, the black rune greystone beetle's black rune stone armor shell. To think that you can kill elite-grade ferocious beasts? He raised his head and looked at Lu Yuan. Bro, to be honest, you're the gene fighter with the fastest progress I've seen. You're very strong to be able to kill elite-grade ferocious beasts in just one day. Lu Yuan smiled and didn't reply to him. He then asked. How much? Are you done counting? Who am I? Of course I've counted them. 189 greystone armor shells, each at $150, 124 small stoneman's hearts, each at $300, 87 black scorpion venomous metasomas, each at $400, 87 pairs of black scorpion huge pincers, each at $250, 1 black rune stone armor shell at $3,000. The total is $115,100, a sincere price regardless of whether you are young or old. Lu Yuan looked at the boss who patted his chest and then took out his phone, calculating the prices. Then, his lips twitched. He looked at the boss and smiled. $115, 100? The boss averted his gaze slightly, smiling awkwardly. Cough. Did I calculate wrongly? I'll calculate it one more time. He took out his phone and did another round of calculation. After that, a hint of realization appeared on his face. Oh, I counted wrongly. The total is $125,100. Lu Yuan smiled coldly. Forget it, I'll take them elsewhere to sell. He stood up, planning to put away the stuff and leave. Seeing that, the boss became anxious. Hey, I calculated wrongly just now. I didn't do it on purpose. Lu Yuan stopped. Who knows if you did it intentionally or not? You almost caused me to lose $10,000. Pay me compensation for emotional distress. Make it $130,000. The boss's countenance changed and he looked at Lu Yuan. How can you take advantage of the situation to profit? I treat you as a brother. Lu Yuan rolled his eyes, didn't say anything else, and planned on just packing his things and leaving. Hey, alright, $130,000 it is then. It's my bad. I'll compensate you. Only then did Lu Yuan break into a smile. Deal. Although this boss wasn't all that reliable, at least Lu Yuan had some gains from this transaction. Lu Yuan had made an estimation of the price before coming. The market price of these materials was around $125,000. Since the boss offered him $130,000, with there being an additional $4,900, it'd probably be enough to last him for a few months. "I transferred you the money. Take a look." Woof howl howl. Lu Yuan looked at his phone to confirm the receipt of the payment. After that, a hint of excitement flashed in his eyes. He didn't expect to be able to rake in so much money by being a gene fighter, getting $130,000 in a night. It'd be $3.9 million in a month and over $40 million in a year. How many buns can I buy with these? I didn't expect there'd be a day where I can become rich. Lu Yuan was elated inside. He watched as the boss put away the materials and said, smiling, "I'll come again to look for you next time." The boss nodded. "All right. If there's business to do, come patronize me again." "Oh right, boss, there's something I'm curious about." "What is it? Why are you wearing sunglasses when you're in the shop?" The boss's expression, which was previously filled with smiles, stiffened up. He let out a dry cough and waved his hand at Lu Yuan. "Bro, come again next time." Seeing that the boss wasn't willing to say anything, Lu Yuan shrugged and didn't persist. After leaving the Quanglang materials shop, Lu Yuan first made a trip to the shops and spent over $10,000 on necessities. This time around, he even had the money to buy all sorts of condiments and a barbecue rack. While working hard hunting ferocious beasts in the land of origins, shouldn't he have some good food to eat? It wouldn't work to keep eating energy bars. He heard that ferocious beasts' meat tasted quite good, so he should enjoy himself, rewarding himself with good food for working hard, to earn money and to become stronger. For the other necessities, Lu Yuan also chose those of the highest quality. In the past, he didn't have money and felt that things would work as long as they could be used. Now that he had money, he must make sure to use the best things. After buying all sorts of necessities, Lu Yuan was still left with $120,000. After purchasing all the necessities, Lu Yuan then returned to the slums, feeling satisfied. He looked at the ruffians along the streets who were holding blades and engaged in gang fights, and then at the place that was covered in trash. When he passed by, the smell was simply unbearable. However, his mood was a lot more relaxed than it was in the past. "Now that I have money, I finally have the confidence to move out of this chaotic area." Lu Yuan returned to his simple rental apartment. After he got into his room, he opened up the battle web. This time around, he was going to buy genetic potions. The Gene Fighter Battle Web had an online shopping platform managed by the Gene Fighter Association. Some unique gene fighters, such as alchemists who could refine potions and weaponsmiths who could forge genetic armaments, would put up genetic potions and genetic armaments on sale on the shopping platform. Lu Yuan tapped open the shopping platform and selected genetic potions in the categories. This time around, Lu Yuan's choice was clear-cut. He would definitely need recovery potions. After all, if he were to get hurt and didn't have any recovery potions with him, he could only let his wounds heal slowly. If that wasn't possible, he might not even be able to hunt ferocious beasts and could only wait it out until the time was over. If he were to encounter any danger while he was injured, he might even come out dead. In the previous 2 times, he had been lucky. He had obtained a guard-type battle technique and his defense was considered powerful. Therefore, he didn't sustain serious injuries. However, he wasn't going to be so lucky every time. Therefore, recovery potions were definitely a must. He started to look through the recovery potions based on the categories. The grades used for recovery potions were the same as the ones used for gene fighters. They were categorized into probational tier, fighter tier, battle general tier, battle lord tier, and others. Other than the user grades, recovery potions were also categorized into common grade potions, fine grade potions, strong grade potions, and others due to the different refining materials used. Lu Yuan opened up a page selling probational tier common grade recovery potions. There was an introduction to the recovery potion. Common grade recovery potions could heal most external wounds. If it was a serious wound, the recovery time would take about 30 minutes or more. There was even the possibility of taking a few hours before the recovery was completed. Lu Yuan read the introduction and frowned slightly, feeling a little unsatisfied. Taking a few hours to heal serious injuries might be considered a medical miracle for ordinary people. However, to gene fighters, it was a little slow. He gave it some thought before opening up the page for the fine-grade recovery potions next to it. The instant the page came out, the $30,000 price caused Lu Yuan's heart to stop beating for a second. What kind of potion is this? To think that it's so expensive? Common-grade potions only cost $8,000. This is robbery. Lu Yuan frowned, feeling a little unsatisfied. He then took a look at the introduction for the potion's effect. The recovery effect for fine-grade recovery potions was about 3 times that of common-grade recovery potions. Most serious injuries could be healed within 10 minutes to 1 hour. Lu Yuan's eyes gleamed a little. This thing is really not bad. He then took a look at the price and he became quiet. I only have $120,000 left on me, so I can only buy 4 bottles of fine-grade recovery potions? Why am I still so poor? Lu Yuan stared at the fine-grade recovery potions for quite a while. In the end, he gritted his teeth and bore with the heartache as he added 1 bottle into his cart. Regardless, sometimes, this thing could be used as a life-saving tool. Lu Yuan then added another bottle of common-grade recovery potion into his cart as well. If it wasn't injuries that were especially serious, he could just use common-grade recovery potions. He should save wherever possible. Lu Yuan had wanted to buy a few more bottles, but if he were to do that, he wouldn't have the money to buy other genetic potions. Left without a choice, he could only give up. Thereafter, Lu Yuan started to search for enhancement potions. After encountering those 3 catfolk hunters, Lu Yuan discovered that sometimes, it was better to have some potions as a trump card. The enhancement potions included those that raised one's strength, speed, defense, spirit energy, and other areas. Lu Yuan's first choice was a speed enhancement potion. It was because the extraordinary gene he had engraved and recorded was a guard type 1 after all. His speed was really weak. Moreover, a fast speed would allow one to flee faster. When using the trump card, it'd probably be to flee when encountered strong foes. Where there's life, there's hope. Lu Yuan looked at a common-grade speed enhancement potion and opened up the page. He was lacking a little in confidence, fearing that the price would be beyond what he could afford. Chapter 36, Kill Him. Translator, Lord Bluefire, $15,000. After opening up the page, Lu Yuan saw the price, and his heart sank slightly. This price was almost twice that of recovery potions. It was really expensive. He then looked at the introduction. To probational fighters, common-grade speed enhancement potions could increase one's speed by about 20%. However, as every gene fighter placed emphasis on different aspects, the effects would have minor differences. Lu Yuan raised his brows slightly. The black iron body he had now could increase his speed by a small scale. Compared to those who had engraved and recorded common-grade speed-type genes, the difference wasn't that much. If the increment was about 20%, it should be able to make him comparable to gene fighters with common-grade speed-type genes of the same level. He might even be slightly faster. It wasn't bad. However, common-grade speed-type fighters weren't a threat to Lu Yuan. Was buying this thing really necessary? Lu Yuan thought about it for a while and tapped open the fine-grade speed enhancement potions at the side. $50,000. When Lu Yuan saw the price, his lips twitched. These alchemists are too good at earning money. 1 potion alone costs $50,000. Will one gain immortality from drinking it? He complained and then read the effects. Fine-grade potions could increase one's speed by about 50%. His eyes gleamed. The increment is quite good. With a fine-grade potion that could increase his speed by 50%, his speed would be considered not bad. If he were to encounter danger, he'd have quite a high chance of escaping. But the price? Lu Yuan hesitated for a moment but eventually still chose to add it into his cart. A bottle of fine-grade speed enhancement potion $50,000, a bottle of fine-grade recovery potion $30,000, and a bottle of common-grade recovery potion $8,000. The 3 bottles of potions totaled to $88,000. Right now, Lu Yuan was only left with slightly over $30,000. Since he had to keep aside $10,000 to purchase a map of the Sandstone Underground Palace, he still had $20,000 or so to use. Lu Yuan gave it some thought and eventually chose to get a defense enhancement potion. Defense was his strongest trait. If he were to encounter a powerful ferocious beast, increasing his defense might make it impossible for it to break through his defenses. Maybe he might even be able to defeat the beast. The price of a common-grade defense enhancement potion was $10,000, slightly cheaper than speed enhancement potions. However, a fine-grade potion would cost $35,000. It was still very expensive. Given the money Lu Yuan had, he wasn't able to buy fine-grade potions. He thought about it and purchased 2 bottles of common-grade defense enhancement potions. In the end, he spent $108,000 on 5 bottles of potions. Payment has been made. The order will be sent today. Lu Yuan looked at the message that popped out and broke into a smile. If that was the case, they might be able to arrive in time for his trip to the Land of Origins today. Thereafter, Lu Yuan spent another $10,000 and purchased a map of the Sandstone Underground Palace. After his preparations were done, Lu Yuan didn't head to Daming Dojo to cultivate his physical training techniques. Instead, he stayed at home to absorb spirit crystals. After all, he lived in the slums and there was no one to receive his parcels for him. What if the potions he bought couldn't reach him? He had spent almost all of his money to buy them. In the evening, the delivery arrived. The recovery potions were a light red color, the defense enhancement potions were a light black color, and the speed enhancement potion was a light green color. They were stored in crystal bottles and looked quite nice. Lu Yuan carefully put all 3 types of potions into his battle tattoo space. He'd be able to use them at any time in the future. Time passed by very quickly. During the day, Lu Yuan worked on absorbing the spirit crystals gradually and raised his refinement rate by another 1%. His refinement rate had now reached 11%. At 8 p.m., the door of light to the land of origins was completely recovered. Lu Yuan used his consciousness to get into contact with the door of light and then disappeared from the simple room, entering the land of origins. In the sandstone underground palace, Lu Yuan appeared out of nowhere. The place he appeared in was the spot from which he had left the land of origins the day before. Candle lights were burning in the passageway, the lights a little dim. After Lu Yuan appeared, a few pieces of stones from piles of stone at the side came shooting toward him. At the same time, black shadows pounced on Lu Yuan. It was small stone men and black scorpions. Lu Yuan had cleaned up the ferocious beasts nearby before he left yesterday. However, this was how strange the land of origins was. There were a lot of ferocious beasts and in the entire universe, it was unknown how many races there were. No matter how much they killed, it was impossible to wipe out all of the ferocious beasts here. At this moment, Lu Yuan's figure flashed and he dodged the stone's attacks. After that, a long sword appeared in his hand, and he killed the black scorpions that pounced on him. He then wiped out all the small stone men that had gathered together. After collecting the spirit crystals and materials, Lu Yuan left this passageway and continued to head deeper into the underground palace. When Lu Yuan was hunting ferocious beasts, in a place not far away from his passageway, there was a battle going on. Swoosh! Arrows shot across the air, making a piercing sound. It shot through a male elf's neck. Blood gushed out from the male elf's neck, dyeing his body red. He held his neck and his eyes were wide open, glaring at the female catgirl not far away. Molly didn't have any expression on her face as she took a look at the male elf who gradually fell to the ground. She then took out another arrow and turned her gaze onto someone else. The catfolk swordsman Xietain was fighting against 2 elf attack-type fighters. Xia's movements were like leaves fluttering in the wind, being more agile than the 2 elf fighters. Moreover, his crazy heavy sword attacks slashed out an intense sword wind that suppressed the 2 elf fighters. The 2 elf fighters were continuously pushed back. On the other hand, the catfolk elementalist kept on creating fireballs in his hand and was suppressing an elf guard-type fighter and an elf archer. Seeing their companion's death, the 4 elf fighters bellowed out in fury. Damn hunters! Xietain and the other 2 didn't wear any expressions on their faces. As hunters, their prey's fury was unable to cause any fluctuations in their emotions. Nanchi, Molly let out a low snort, grabbed 2 arrows, and pulled her bow. The arrows shot out toward the elf archer from 2 directions. Archery body technique, double shot. Nanchi, the elementalist, understood her intentions. He let out a low bellow, and 3 fireballs condensed above his magic staff, shooting toward the elf guard-type fighter. Seeing this, the elf guard-type fighter's pupils contracted, his body tensed up, and he raised his shield to put up a block. Boom boom boom. As the fireballs exploded on the huge square-shaped shield, the elf fighter let out a stifled snort and was pushed back for many steps. As a result, the elf archer behind him became exposed. At this moment, 2 arrows passed by the elf guard-type fighter, turned into streams of light, and shot toward the elf archer. The elegant-looking elf archer was shooting arrows at Nanchi when she suddenly heard the sound of something cutting through the air. Her pupils contracted and she quickly pounced to the side. An arrow flew past above her head, but the other arrow pierced through her chest. Ah! The elf archer let out an agonizing cry and fell to the ground. Blood gushed out of her body as she lost her vitality. Barrel! The eyes of the elf guard-type fighter and the other 2 elf swordsmen turned red, and they let out furious bellows. However, after the consecutive deaths of 2 elf fighters, the other 3 elf fighters couldn't hold on for long under the 3 catfolk hunters' teamwork. In a short time, an elf swordsman had his chest pierced through by Molly's arrow, and another elf swordsman had his neck slashed by Xia's longsword. The last elf guard-type fighter was shaken up by Nanchi's fireballs that his internal organs shattered and he died. Xie and the other 2 let out exhales as they took a look at their spoils of war. Nanchi broke into a smile. To think that there are genetic armaments? 2 sets of leather armor. Not bad. This party seems to have gotten some gains. Xie quietly picked up all the items and smiled faintly. But in the end, didn't they end up becoming ours? Molly put away her longbow, took out a water bottle, and had a drink. She then pursed her lips. Our luck isn't bad this time. This party's strength is quite mediocre and we didn't deplete much stamina either. Let's continue to look for another prey. Nanchi waved his magic staff and said, smiling. Let's set off. The three catfolk hunters put away their spoils of war and set off once again. It wasn't long before they heard the sounds of fighting from a passageway in the distance. The three of them exchanged a glance. They had been together for very long and didn't need to communicate to be able to understand each other. Hence, they softened their footsteps and moved in the direction of the sounds. Very soon, they arrived at the source of the fighting sounds. Molly did a hush action with her lips and looked toward the corner. After seeing the battle scene, Molly's pupils contracted and revealed a hint of killing intent. Not far away, a human fighter was being surrounded by 3 small stone men and 2 black scorpions. Even though he was surrounded and attacked, the human fighter still seemed to be at ease. His entire skin turned into a black iron color and he wore simple armor. His defense was extremely astonishing. The black scorpion's venomous stinger wasn't able to pierce through his skin, and his body could even receive the attack of a small stoneman's fist. Molly had a deep impression of this human fighter. He was the one who had pierced her stomach with his sword yesterday. At the sight of this human, she felt a vague pain in her stomach. This made her clench her fists and grit her teeth uncontrollably. Sensing Molly's abnormality, Xietain and Nanchi exchanged a glance. Xietain patted Molly softly. Molly came back to her senses and withdrew her stance. What's the matter? Xietain asked. An ice-cold killing intent flashed in Molly's eyes and she said softly. It's that human guard-type fighter from yesterday. It's him. Nanchi instantly broke into a savage smile. I didn't expect that we would see him again. Xia's gaze also flickered and he gripped his longsword tightly. He's alone? He's alone. Then let's kill him. Chapter 37, So what if you guys are rich? Translator, Lord Bluefire. Lu Yuan was being surrounded and attacked. There were 3 small stone men and 2 black scorpions. As the rate of Lu Yuan's gene refinement rate kept on increasing, his black iron body's toughness was rising as well. During the period he had entered the land of origins, he had absorbed quite a number of spirit crystals, raising his refinement rate to 12%. Although this refinement rate wasn't considered too high, the extraordinary gene Lu Yuan had engraved and recorded was an elite grade 1. It primarily raised his defense and allowed him to be comparable to a gene fighter with a common grade gene and a refinement rate of 50% or even 60%. Moreover, he was wearing genetic armaments, and his defense was extremely strong. As long as his critical spots weren't hit, these ferocious beasts wouldn't be able to inflict him with actual damage. It'd only make him feel a bit of pain. Without any worries about his defense, Lu Yuan primarily focused on practicing his movements and sword techniques. Between gene fighters of the same level, the one with the stronger physical training technique would naturally have a greater battle prowess. Hence, Lu Yuan didn't wish to lag behind in this area. Through the repeated dodges, he let his movements become more efficient. Through repeated attacks, he let his sword techniques become sharper. Surrounded and attacked by 5 ferocious beasts, the difficulty of dodging them was extremely high. He kept getting hit. However, he wasn't anxious at all. He could only repeatedly practice to improve his dodging abilities. After that, he waved the longsword in his hand, occasionally leaving injuries on the 5 ferocious beasts. It wasn't long before one small stoneman turned into a pile of stones and fell to the ground. Although the remaining 4 ferocious beasts continued to surround and attack Lu Yuan's attempts at dodging became a lot easier. However, he still got hit occasionally. Lu Yuan continued attacking. Just as he killed another small stoneman, a piercing sound of something cutting through the air came from behind him. Lu Yuan's back felt cold and he instinctively sensed danger. He moved his body one step to the side. An arrow that brought about a strong wind brushed past Lu Yuan's face and hit a small stoneman in the head. Boom! The crazy arrow attack pierced a hole through the small stoneman's head. Its body swayed a little before it turned into shattered stones and crumbled to the ground. This attacking ability was slightly stronger than Lu Yuan's. Lu Yuan's pupils contracted slightly and he turned to look over. He had just turned when a fireball came shooting toward him. How dare they do sneak attacks? They are so sly. Lu Yuan silently cursed and moved once again. The fireball passed by his body, landing on a black scorpion's back. The black scorpion screamed as it was engulfed by the flames. The explosion left a bloody hole on its upper body and it collapsed to the ground. At the same time, Lu Yuan saw a cat-guy swordsman charging over with a sword. At the sight of this swordsman, Lu Yuan frowned slightly. It's you. This was the cat-guy hunter he had encountered yesterday. If it was him, then the two attacks from earlier. Lu Yuan raised his head and looked toward the corner. The catgirl archer and that elementalist were also around. But this time around, Lu Yuan didn't have the help of another fighter party. It was 3 against 1. This was a little troublesome. Lu Yuan's countenance sank a little. The cat guy swordsman dashed up to Lu Yuan very quickly, and that strange breathing rhythm rang out by Lu Yuan's ear once again. The cat guy swordsman held his big sword and slashed it down diagonally at Lu Yuan's neck. In return, Lu Yuan exerted force on both legs and also slashed his long sword out. King! Sparks splattered between the two long swords, and Xia's countenance changed as he took 2 steps back. When he saw that Lu Yuan wasn't pushed back at all, his pupils couldn't help but contract and he revealed an astonished expression. Your strength has gotten so much stronger. When the two of them clashed yesterday, they were evenly matched. Xie even had the slightest bit of advantage. But now, after a short day, Lu Yuan had the upper hand in their collision. Lu Yuan smiled. The previous time, he had just entered the land of origins and his refinement rate was less than 8% or thereabout. But this time around, his refinement rate had reached 12%. It had risen close to 50%. Although Lu Yuan's black iron body didn't primarily raise his strength, it was still quite considerable. Compared to the previous time, even if Xie had made improvements, it was hard for him to be evenly matched with Lu Yuan. After one attack, Lu Yuan strode forth, planning to continue with more attacks. However, he had just taken a step forward when the sound of wind cutting rang out. An arrow shot toward Lu Yuan's eyes. At the same time, a fireball also came shooting toward him. Lu Yuan frowned. He moved to the side, dodging both the arrow and fireball. He had just dodged the attacks when the cat guy swordsman came forth again, slashing his long sword horizontally toward Lu Yuan's defenseless stomach. Just in time, Lu Yuan put up a horizontal block with his long sword, sending the cat guy swordsman's long sword flying. After that, he kicked out toward the cat guy swordsman's stomach. Upon seeing this counter, the cat guy swordsman's pupils contracted, and he raised his left hand to put up a block. A stifled sound rang out and the cat guy swordsman backed off for many steps. However, Lu Yuan didn't have any time to give chase. 2 consecutive arrows shot out toward him, and a fireball that was bigger than the last one came blasting over. Moli and Nanqi, who were in the distance, naturally saw the fight between Lu Yuan and Xie. Their countenances also changed. What's going on? Xie is being suppressed? How is that possible? Their strength was about the same level previously. If it's an eruption for a short moment, Xie should be able to suppress this human. How long has it only been? He has become so much stronger. Go at full power. Otherwise, we'll still have to flee this time around. Molly gritted her teeth and a savage expression appeared on her exquisite face. The arrow in her hand flashed with a faint bloody gleam. Nanqi's countenance was also icy cold, and the fireballs he conjured with his magic staff got increasingly bigger. Both sides engaged in a battle. Now, Lu Yuan's individual strength was stronger than Xie, but he was unable to kill him within a short period. With Xie holding him back, Molly and Nanqi, who were in the distance, could easily attack Lu Yuan from afar. Moreover, the 3 of them had quite good teamwork. Each time Lu Yuan pushed back Xie and wanted to give chase, Molly and Nanqi would attempt to suppress and push him back. Each time Lu Yuan wanted to go for Molly and Nanqi, Xie would hold back Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan's speed wasn't fast to begin with. With Xie holding him back, his speed was naturally even slower. It was impractical for him to go for Molly and Nanqi. The battle entered a deadlock. Lu Yuan's countenance wasn't that good either. It's true that I've gotten stronger, but these 3 catfolk hunters have also gotten stronger. If the prowess of that catgirl archer's arrows was the same as before, I might even be able to take on her arrows and kill this cat guy swordsman first. He was a little irritated. He had been fighting for so long but wasn't able to kill a single one of them. This was the helplessness of a guard-type fighter. They had extremely strong defense but didn't have an attacking ability that could allow them to end the match instantly. Gradually, time passed. Molly shot out another arrow. Her forehead was covered in sweat and she was panting vigorously. Nanqi, who was next to her, was also a little pale. He looked at Lu Yuan in the distance and seemed to be very shocked. Something isn't right. Something really isn't right. Molly nodded. It's true that something isn't right. What's going on with this human? He has been using his battle technique all the time. How could he persist? Nanqi also looked surprised. Our battle techniques are attack-type battle techniques. After using them consecutively, our spirit energies are almost used up. On the other hand, his is a sustaining guard-type battle technique, so how can he continue for so long? Look at him, he still looks so alive and energetic. It's as if his spirit energy hasn't reached a limit yet. In the distance, the fight between Lu Yuan and Xie was still ongoing. Xie's expression was turning a little pale, and his light red skin had now become a lot duller than before. He couldn't perform his battle technique continuously for long. However, Lu Yuan looked just like before. He was still covered in his black iron body. King! Another collision took place. As a result, Xie's face turned pale and he backed off 5 to 6 steps. His hands trembled and he even had some difficulty holding onto his sword. He stared at Lu Yuan. How do you have so much spirit energy? Lu Yuan smiled. Because I'm strong. Of course, he couldn't say that he was holding a spirit crystal with his left hand and was continuously absorbing spirit energy. This was the 4th spirit crystal he was absorbing spirit energy from. After all, his refinement rate couldn't be compared with the 3 catfolk hunters. Therefore, his spirit energy level was definitely lower. If it was just an ordinary battle of attrition, Lu Yuan would definitely be the one to lose. However, Lu Yuan was someone who could absorb spirit crystals to recover his spirit energy. This allowed him to last longer. Right now, Lu Yuan could sense that this cat guy swordsman was finding it a little hard to keep going. Hence, he broke into a smile. It's my turn next, right? After dragging out the fight for so long, he had finally worn out this guy's spirit energy. It had been very difficult. He then took a step forward and shot out like electricity, slashing his longsword toward the cat guy swordsman. Whooshing sword wind blew at the cat guy swordsman's hair. At this moment, the cat guy's expression changed drastically and he pounced to the side. Lu Yuan's longsword slashed onto the ground, leaving behind a sword mark. After that, he directly raised his sword and charged at the cat guy swordsman once again. The cat guy swordsman was very shocked and kept on dodging. If you're that capable, then don't dodge. Lu Yuan felt happy and kept on attacking. Xie felt tremendous pressure. Cold sweat kept on breaking out on his forehead and he bellowed furiously. Moli! Nanchi! Hurry up and give me support. The countenances of Moli and Nanchi, who were in the distance, changed. They forcibly extracted more spirit energy and attacked with their battle techniques. However, Lu Yuan swung his sword casually, sending the arrow flying and extinguishing the fireball. He smiled. Just this bit of attacking intensity? Their spirit energies should also be almost depleted, right? Do you think that yours is the only one being depleted? Upon hearing this, Xie's countenance changed. Seeing that Lu Yuan had come charging up again, Xie gritted his teeth and wore a heartache expression. He took out a potion that was gleaming with starlight, chugging it down. At the sight of this potion, Lu Yuan's countenance changed slightly. Spirit energy recovery potion? He had forgotten that such a potion existed. After taking it, this guy's spirit energy would probably slowly recover. Even if your spirit energy recovers. Before Lu Yuan could finish his words, Xie took out another blood-red potion and chugged it down. He then took out a light green potion and did the same. Moli and Nanchi, who were in the distance, also took out potions consecutively and drank them. Lu Yuan sensed their auras getting increasingly stronger and his countenance instantly changed. F***CK. Are potions free? Who drinks potions like this? So what if you guys are rich? Chapter 38, Underground Palace's Ant Nest. Translator, Lord Bluefire. Boom! The battle technique that had dissipated from Xie's body once again appeared as his skin turned a faint red color. He stomped on the ground surface, and his body instantly charged toward Lu Yuan. He slashed his sword at Lu Yuan's neck. At this moment, the large sword arced through the air, emitting the whistling sound of the raging wind. Lu Yuan's expression froze as he lifted his sword to parry it. King! Lu Yuan felt a surge of might that was much greater compared to before. His expression changed slightly, and he retreated 2 steps back. On the contrary, Xie didn't even retreat a single step. When Xie saw this, he revealed a malevolent smile. He coldly snorted and slashed his sword out again. The attacks came wave after wave, in a continuous unending manner. Lu Yuan's expression changed slightly as he unceasingly blocked the attacks while retreating at the same time. King! Another clash happened and Lu Yuan retreated another step back, getting closer to the wall. At this moment, Xie shifted horizontally by a certain distance. Lu Yuan heard a sharp sound breaking the air while also feeling a scorching heat. Oh no! His expression changed as he hurriedly dodged to the side. Whoosh! An arrow shining with black-colored light shot past Lu Yuan's shoulder, opening a hole in the armor protecting that area. Luckily, the arrow didn't strike Lu Yuan's body. If not, even with his current defensive prowess, he would still be injured. The fireball shot above Lu Yuan and slammed into the wall behind him. Boom! The fireball exploded and the heat wave caused hot air to gush forth, landing on Lu Yuan's back. Lu Yuan's body involuntarily moved 2 steps forward. And Xietain, who had hidden away earlier, appeared once again at this moment. His cat pupils flashed with a cold playful look. His hands gripped his sword's hilt tightly as he slashed at Lu Yuan's waist. Lu Yuan's pupils narrowed. The muscles in his entire body tensed as he quickly took a step to the side. However, the cat guy's sword arced past his waist and cut open his skin, causing some blood to flow out. Lu Yuan heaved a sigh of relief. Luckily, he had practiced a movement art. If not, he would definitely not be able to avoid this attack. After avoiding Xietan's attack, Lu Yuan continuously retreated a few steps. He stared at Xietain, as well as Moli and Nanqi, and a sharp expression appeared on his face. After that, a bottle of black-colored potion appeared in his hands, and he gulped the contents down. This was a common-grade defensive potion. After drinking the potion, Lu Yuan could clearly sense that the potion had transformed into an invisible spirit energy fluctuation in his body and formed a special barrier. He could also sense that this barrier allowed his defensive prowess to be enhanced a great deal. Common-grade defensive potions could enhance one's defensive prowess by around 20%. At this moment, how strong exactly was Lu Yuan's defensive prowess? After it was enhanced by 20%, it would surely reach a ridiculously powerful level. It was just that the price was too high. A bottle already cost $10,000. Upon thinking of the price, a hint of pain flashed in Lu Yuan's eyes. Damn it, he worked so hard in the past and sold all the materials only to get roughly $10,000. And now, everything was gone. He looked at Xia's group with strong killing intent in his eyes. These few B***stards were all to blame. Why did they use potions when it was not needed? After seeing Lu Yuan drinking a defense enhancement potion, the expressions of Xietain and his companions changed. Damn! This fellow actually bought potions. Xietain, Moli called out from afar. Xietain then looked at Lu Yuan. His gaze flashed as he nodded. Retreat. He then ran in Moli and Nanqi's direction. Lu Yuan's face twitched when he saw them fleeing. It, the poor me has drunk a potion and made a loss of $10,000. If I still allow you guys to flee, doesn't that mean that I don't have to live on anymore? He directly rushed toward the 3 cat folks. He definitely couldn't allow them to escape. Just when he charged out, Lu Yuan saw that the 3 of them had run for 30+ meters. One couldn't help but say that his speed was truly inferior when compared to the 3 of them. This was especially so after the catfolk swordsman and archer drank a speed potion. Although that catfolk elementalist didn't drink a potion, he was being carried on the back by the catfolk swordsman, so his speed wasn't slow either. If Lu Yuan wanted to catch them, he most probably had to drink elite-grade speed enhancement potions. However, that stuff cost $50,000 per bottle. Since Lu Yuan had made a loss of $10,000, if he killed these 3 catfolks and they didn't drop any good items, wouldn't that mean that he would have wasted $50,000 if he really used an elite-grade potion? He truly wasn't able to accept this. The most important thing was that the potion was a trump card he wanted to use when encountering danger. It wouldn't be worth it at all if he used it here. But now, he would feel extremely reluctant if he didn't chase after them. He could only grit his teeth and continued chasing the 3 catfolk hunters. At the same time, he silently made a decision. Once he broke through to the next level, he definitely had to engrave and record a speed-type gene. One of the parties fled, while the other gave chase. Not long later, Lu Yuan discovered the distance between them growing longer and longer. The 3 catfolks were now over 50 meters away from him. In a short span of time, they had run 20 meters more than him. Is my zodiac a freaking turtle? Lu Yuan couldn't help but curse at himself. The lighting in the underground palace tunnels was dimmed, so darkness was the only thing that could be seen stretching out ahead. If they ran for another distance, Lu Yuan most probably wouldn't even be able to see their figures. Luckily, there were no other forks on this path. If not, he would have long since been shaken by the 3 catfolks. However, if this situation continued, they would definitely encounter forks on the road sooner or later. It meant that sooner or later, he would be shaken off. Just when Lu Yuan's expression turned unsightly, the sound of a low roaring rang out from afar. Lu Yuan's eyes brightened. These were the sounds that small stone men made. He could see 2 shattered stone piles far away. 2 stone men were hurling stones at the 3 catfolks. Lu Yuan involuntarily revealed a smile. However, just when his smile appeared, 2 fireballs slammed into the 2 stone men. Before the stone men could fully transform themselves, they had become a true pile of shattered stones. There was no need for the catfolk swordsman and archer to act. The catfolk elementalist who was being carried along could completely deal with these ferocious beasts. Seeing how comfortable they were, it could be said that the number of times these three catfolks were chased most probably wasn't little. The smile on Lu Yuan's face stiffened. The small stone men were too stupid. The current strength of the three catfolks was roughly the same as him after he drank a potion, so the stone men basically wouldn't be able to block them. Lu Yuan's heart turned cold once again. However, Lu Yuan didn't give up chasing them. He still felt some reluctance in his heart. Maybe, this path is a dead end? At that time, where would these 3B asterisk stars run to? Lu Yuan felt some anticipation in his heart. After running for some time, the three catfolks got nearer and nearer to the darkness. Nanchi was being carried by Xie. He finished a black scorpion that tried to sneak attack them with a fireball. He then turned and glanced behind him. Lu Yuan, who was roughly 70 meters away, was coldly staring at them. Nanchi felt joy in his heart as he grinned with provocation. Human, your speed is like a turtle. You want to catch up to us? Haha, maybe in your next life. Molly kept her bow on her back and rolled her eyes at Nanchi. We still can't escape. Xie's expression was cold. This human probably hates us to death. There's nothing we can do. After all, we met him twice. We didn't expect his strength to improve so quickly. Previously, he clearly found it a chore just to deal with Xie. Molly's expression turned unsightly. That fellow is most probably a genius. Nanchi grinned as though he didn't mind it. So what if he is a genius? At most, we will just take a detour when we encounter him in the future. He is a guard type, his speed is so slow. How can he catch up to us? MN, let's escape this calamity first before we talk more about it. Why are there no forks? Molly frowned. But before she could finish her sentence, cracks suddenly appeared on the surface of the ground before her as she stepped on it. A huge crater appeared and her body fell down. Not only her, but Xie who was beside her, as well as Nanchi who was being carried by Xie, had all fallen down. They fell for roughly 5 meters before they felt their bodies landing on the ground. But this time around, their countenances all turned white. Damn! It's an ant nest. Aren't we too unlucky? We actually encounter an ant nest. The eyes of Molly and Nanchi were filled with despair. Meanwhile, the corner of Xie's lips violently twitched. He glanced at the 2 tunnels inside the crater. The tunnels in an ant nest were extremely dark. Without a torch, one wouldn't be able to see anything more than 5 meters away even with the strength and vision of a gene fighter. They could only see darkness in the distance. However, the superior hearing of gene fighters could hear scuttling noises that were rapidly closing in on them. Xie's eyes narrowed. We have to think of a way to climb up. No. That human is above. He wants nothing more than to tear us into pieces. Nanchi hurriedly replied. Xie's lips twitched. At this moment, Molly's expression drastically changed. They are here. Upon hearing this, both Nanchi and Xie's countenances changed. They glanced at the surroundings and saw 2 dark tunnels. After they saw 1-meter-tall ants with yellow bodies that were the size of a huge dog crawling out from the depths of both tunnels. Underground palace sand ants. Their strengths ranged from 10% refinement to 99% refinement, and they were one of the strongest monster groups in the sandstone underground palace. Ant nests in the underground palace could be said to span all across the underground palace. The deep dark eyes of the underground palace sand ants were fixated on the 3 catfolks. The antennae on their heads kept twitching. A moment later, a few of the ants let out a sharp shriek as they began to rush toward the 3 catfolks frenziedly. They could judge that these were invaders. Chapter 39, Transaction. Translator, Lord Bluefire. Damn, let's attack. Upon seeing a few underground sand ants rushing over, Xie's expression changed along with Nanchi and Molly's. They showed no hesitation and immediately attacked. A fireball and an arrow were blasted out, killing 2 underground palace sand ants. Xie also waved his sword and sliced the head of another sand ant into twain. However, the underground palace sand ants came continuously and charged toward the 3 catfolks as they screeched. For a time, an intense battle broke out between the 2 sides. Lu Yuan had been following behind Xie's group, and he suddenly heard a huge commotion. He stared at the scene before him with some bewilderment. What just happened? He then swiftly continued running ahead. Very soon, he saw a deep crater on the ground. After that, Lu Yuan heard the angry roars by Xie, the screeching noises made by the underground palace sand ants, and the sounds of combat. This deep crater and this sound. A nest of the underground palace sand ants. Lu Yuan's expression immediately changed. Yesterday, Lu Yuan had looked at the Sandstone City's Ferocious Beast illustrated handbook and naturally read the introduction about the underground palace sand ants. If he encountered a small group of underground palace sand ants in the underground palace tunnels, as long as he could defeat them it would be no problem even if he killed them. But if he encountered an ant nest, the illustrated handbook's author's advice was only 2 words. And that was, to flee. If one entered the underground palace sand ant's nest, they would be treated as invaders. All the sand ants would charge over to surround and attack you. If one failed to take you down, there would be 10. If 10 failed, there would be 100. It would continue all the way until all the invaders died. One must know that there were over tens of thousands of sand ants inside their nest. Once the ants ganged up on someone, their numbers were frighteningly huge. No matter how strong a person was, once their spirit energy was used up, they wouldn't be able to block the ants. Gene fighters would feel fatigued too. Moreover, other than the ordinary worker ants, there were also elite-grade ants. If it was a large-scale ant nest, there might even be boss-grade existences. Let alone boss-grade underground palace sand ants, even facing the encirclement of a bunch of elite-grade soldier ants would be a deadly situation. Right now, although Lu Yuan's defense wasn't weak, if he encountered elite-grade soldier ants, he wouldn't be able to contend against them. Elite-grade soldier ants were different from the black rune greystone beetles. The refinement rate of black rune greystone beetles was somewhat lower in comparison. The moment Lu Yuan saw this information, he decided that he would definitely not seek death by entering an underground palace sand ant's nest. Who would have thought that he would encounter an ant nest here? Lu Yuan immediately had the thought of retreating. However, as he listened to the sounds of combat below, his expression kept changing and a look of conflict appeared on his face. No matter what, I used a $10,000 defense enhancement potion, could it be that I really have to return with no gains? That was $10,000. But if he encountered an encirclement by sand ants for the sake of $10,000, it would truly be not worth it. Lu Yuan felt conflicted, but his feet involuntarily and cautiously brought him nearer and nearer to the deep crater. I will just take a look. Given my defensive capabilities, ordinary worker ants basically wouldn't be able to break my defense. As long as I don't get encirclement attacked by elite-grade soldier ants or worker ants with very high refinement rates, the danger should be non-existent. At the very least, I have to personally see those 3 catfolks die. Naturally, it will be even better if they drop some good items. Lu Yuan kept consoling himself silently. Not long later, he came to the side of the deep crater. Lu Yuan lowered his head and peered down. He immediately saw a hole that was about 5 meters deep, and there were 2 extremely dark tunnels that branched out in 2 directions inside the crater. Underground palace sand ants kept running out of the tunnels, encircling the 3 catfolks who were in the center of the crater. The 3 catfolks were still pretty strong. This was especially so after they had consumed potions. Before the effects faded, their strength would naturally be boosted. All the underground palace sand ants that attacked them were killed. Right now, the ground was already littered with a thick stack of sand ants' corpses. There were over 20 of them. Lu Yuan's eyebrows twitched when he saw this. If this continued, maybe when the corpses of sand ants increased, the corpses might be able to block the tunnels? Wouldn't these 3 catfolks be able to flee after that? Wrong, I'm still here. Wouldn't that mean they would be captured by me? Lu Yuan's eyes brightened as he realized that this situation didn't seem to be bad. Xie and his group discovered that the number of corpses gradually increased. Hence, Xie's eyes brightened as he revealed a look of joy. We can use the corpses of the sand ants to block the tunnel. Good idea. Nanqi's eyes brightened. Xie, you do it. Your strength is the greatest. The 2 of us will provide support for you. Xie, his lips trembled but he had no way to refute it. At this moment, the underground sand ants also discovered this point. A few sand ants didn't lunge toward the 3 catfolks. Rather, they carried the corpses of their comrades away. The originally thick stack of corpses in the crater was soon cleared. The expressions of Xie and the other 2 immediately grew unsightly. Nanqi cursed, have these ants become demons? Why is their intelligence so high? Molly looked at the unceasing stream of sand ants rushing out and her countenance paled. What should we do? If this continues, we will be exhausted to death sooner or later. Xie's countenance was gloomy. He killed another sand ant, but he could feel that his spirit energy was going to be depleted soon. All of a sudden, Xie seemed to have thought of something as his expression changed. Oh right, where's the human? The other 2 started. Both of them lifted their heads to look at the opening of the crater. After that, they saw Lu Yuan who was currently squatting there and looking at them. When Lu Yuan met their gaze, he waved his hands at them and revealed a smile. My 3 catfolk friends. Hello. Given my turtle-like speed, I didn't expect that I would be able to catch up to you guys again. The 3 catfolks. They almost broke their teeth from gritting them too hard when they saw the smile on Lu Yuan's face. This was especially so for Nanqi who had spoken mocking words to Lu Yuan earlier. Right now, he gritted his teeth harshly as he wanted nothing more than to cast a fireball at Lu Yuan. but ultimately, he directed the fireball onto a sand ant before him. He coldly spoke. Human, our luck was indeed not good and we ran into an ant nest. What do you mean by watching the show here? Lu Yuan laughed. Who says I'm watching the show? I'm waiting for you three to die so I can pick up your items. Upon hearing this, the sounds of teeth being ground could be heard again. Molly coldly glanced at Lu Yuan. Let's hope that you won't die in the mouths of these underground palace sand ants too. Many thanks, beautiful lady, for your concern. However, you are a good person. It's impossible between us. B****. Both Nanchi and Molly were incomparably enraged. Human, how about we do a transaction? At this moment, Xie, who had been silent, spoke up. Lu Yuan started. He glanced at Xie while feeling somewhat puzzled. What can we transact? You let us out and don't attack us. We are willing to give you spirit crystals. Lu Yuan frowned. Give me spirit crystals? Alright. I don't mind telling you that we have just entered the land of origins, so we basically don't have many gains. Even if we died, you might not even be able to get 100 spirit crystals and merely 10 plus materials. Lu Yuan's expression froze. Only 10 plus materials? Are you guys dismissing me as a beggar? The potion he used cost $10,000. Wouldn't he lose his capital then? Seeing that Lu Yuan didn't say anything, Xie's eyes brightened. There's a chance of success. This human seems to lack spirit crystals a lot. He decided to strike while the iron was hot. If you let us out and not attack us, we can each give you 1,000 spirit crystals. 1,000 spirit crystals per person? Lu Yuan stared at Xie as he repeated the sentence. If it was 1,000 per person, it would mean a total of 3,000. He would have to kill thousands of ferocious beasts in the sandstone underground palace for that many crystals. And he would have to spend a very long time killing so many. Damn, I really feel moved. Right, 1,000 spirit crystals per person. How about it? Xie killed another sand ant with his sword as he spoke. Lu Yuan fell silent. Xie didn't speak. Molly and Nanchi also fell silent. They quietly continued killing the unceasing stream of underground palace sand ants. One couldn't help but say that the number of sand ants kept increasing, and the pressure on them also grew greater and greater. Besides, the duration of common grade potions was only roughly 20 minutes. The effects were soon coming to an end. For a time, Xie and the other two felt torn by anxiety. At this moment, Lu Yuan smiled as he spoke. Your suggestion is very tempting, but I reject it. Upon hearing Lu Yuan's words, the expressions of Xie and the others changed. Why? Who knows whether you guys lied to me or not? Maybe your gains weren't bad? In addition, if I really release you guys, what will happen if you continue to flee? I will have to continue chasing you all? And the most important thing is, Lu Yuan revealed a smile as coldness flashed in his eyes. He gritted his teeth as he continued. You 3B*******s tried to kill me twice. If I don't kill you all once, I won't be able to calm my anger. Although I, Lu, lack money, I want to kill you 3B******s even more. Daring to go against me every time you guys come in? Am I that easy? I will make you guys die once and see if you all still dare to do this in the future. Although he said this internally, Lu Yuan's heart still ached with pain. It was 3,000 crystals. If he could get them, that would be considered a really huge sum of money. Chapter 40, Slaughter, the Strength of Guard Type. Translator, Lord Bluefire. The anger of the three catfolks was nothing to him. As the potion's effects on their bodies gradually disappeared and the number of sand ants kept increasing, they didn't even have the mood to be angry anymore. Just blocking the attacks from the sand ants exhausted all their strength. However, it was useless. Ultimately, the three catfolks were devoured by the sand ants, and fresh blood stained the ground red. After the three catfolks died, the space in the surroundings warped as a large number of items fell out. Lu Yuan stared at the items on the ground as his eyes were wide open. Leaving aside a bunch of spirit crystals and materials, there were actually 2 white-colored balls of light. Lu Yuan's eyes brightened. Was this a genetic armament or an extraordinary gene? He had struck it rich. That catfolk sword user was indeed extremely naughty. He actually lied to Lu Yuan saying that he had no gains? Their gains were clearly so huge. At this moment, Lu Yuan leaped down into the ant nest from the top of the crater. The sword in his hand danced, and he instantly killed 2 sand ants and sent the other ants flying, clearing an open space. On the ground, the corpses of the 3 catfolks lay there and they gradually transformed into motes of white light before vanishing. Gene fighters who died in the land of origins would ultimately be revived in the real world. However, Lu Yuan didn't care that their bodies vanished. He hurriedly picked up the 2 balls of light on the ground. He glanced and discovered 2 sets of leather armor within the balls of light. They were genetic armaments. Although their value was inferior to extraordinary genes, he could still sell them for tens of thousands of dollars at least. To Lu Yuan, this was already relatively good. When Lu Yuan just picked up the 2 balls of light, the surrounding sand ants were screeching as they charged over again. They had just killed 3 invaders, to think that there would be 1 more. The sand ants frenziedly attacked Lu Yuan, but there were no changes to Lu Yuan's expression. He wore his armor and maintained his black iron body. His defensive prowess was very strong. Although the potion effect had ended, it wouldn't be possible for ordinary sand ants to break his defense. One of the sand ants used its huge mandibles to grab Lu Yuan's leg. In the end, a caca sound echoed out, while Lu Yuan merely felt a very slight sting. Scram! Lu Yuan shouted in a low voice and sent the sand ant, who was adamant about breaking his leg, flying away with a kick. While he cleared the sand ants, he also collected the spirit crystals and materials. Not only did he pick up the spirit crystals and materials dropped by the 3 catfolk, but he also picked up the spirit crystals dropped by the sand ants that the 3 catfolks had killed earlier. Unfortunately, the corpses of those sand ants were already dragged back into the nest by their companions. He naturally had no way to collect the materials. In addition, the most valuable material from sand ants was a special tendon in their bodies. One had to dissect the ant before they could collect it. In such a situation, it was impossible for Lu Yuan to do so. Lu Yuan naturally gave up on the idea of collecting the sand ant's tendons. Not long later, Lu Yuan finished collecting all the dropped spirit crystals and materials. However, the other sand ants were still attacking Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan stared at the densely packed sand ants that rushed out from the 2 tunnels in the crater. His original intention to retreat was somewhat discarded. There were so many sand ants here, even if he didn't collect the materials from their corpses, he would earn a considerable profit just from the spirit crystals they dropped. If it was other people, they might face mortal danger when facing so many sand ants. However, Lu Yuan was different. He activated the black iron body every moment, and these worker ants weren't able to break his defense. Besides, he could also replenish his spirit energy, so his spirit energy wouldn't be completely exhausted. All these factors gave Lu Yuan the capital to continue fighting unless he encountered worker ants with high refinement rates or elite-grade soldier ants. However, over 100 sand ants had died and stronger worker ants or soldier ants had yet to appear. This meant that this sand ant nest might not be very large. Even if there were elite soldier ants, their numbers probably wouldn't be many. It wouldn't be too late for him to choose to leave if he really met powerful worker ants or soldier ants that he couldn't handle. After all, this crater wasn't very tall. It was a simple thing if he wanted to get out. Moreover, it wouldn't be easy for him to find another place with so many monsters that couldn't break his defense. With this thought in mind, Lu Yuan drew in a deep breath and turned his gaze toward the worker ants who were surrounding him. Fight! Both his hands grabbed around his sword hilt as he started to reap the lives of the worker ants attacking him. 5, 10, 20, 100. When Lu Yuan felt tired, he would simply absorb spirit energy from spirit crystals. From the start until the end, he could maintain the circulation of the strength of the black iron body. At this moment, he had forgotten the number of sand ants he killed. His body was entirely stained by the transparent mucus left behind by the sand ants when they died. At the same time, he also consciously trained his movements and sword techniques. And this allowed his expertise level in his movements and sword techniques to steadily increase. Chi! A black sword light flashed and Lu Yuan killed another sand ant. A white ball of light floated out of the sand ant's corpse. Lu Yuan's originally slightly numb mental state suddenly stirred. There's something? He quickly picked up the ball of light and looked at it. It was a dagger that resembled the huge mandibles of a sand ant. A white-colored dagger that was a genetic armament. Lu Yuan revealed a smile. The probability of ordinary-grade beasts dropping genetic armaments was extremely low. Hence, he didn't expect his luck today to be so good. Naturally, this had something to do with the large number of ants he killed. Sufficient quantity led to qualitative change. Gee! Lu Yuan put away the genetic armament and just when he prepared to continue hunting, all of a sudden, a sharp cry rang out, and the sounds of chaotic footsteps could be heard from the tunnel in front of Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan's expression changed. He directly stepped on the head of a sand ant without even thinking and leaped up. As a gene fighter, Lu Yuan's various abilities in all aspects were extremely strong. It was naturally so for his jumping ability. With a single leap, he reached a height of close to 4 meters. After that, his right hand wielded the sword, while his left hand grabbed some of the protruding rocks at the side of the crater. He exerted force with his arm and lifted himself up once more. In even less than a second, he managed to get out of the roughly 5-meter deep crater. After leaving the crater, Lu Yuan directly ran into the depths of the tunnel. After tens of meters, he turned his head and saw that there were two gigantic sand ants that had yellow bodies and were roughly 1.7 meters to 1.8 meters tall jumping out of the crater. Behind them, there were countless sand ants. These sand ants were all around 1.2 meters and looked much stronger than the ones he had met. These were all experts in the ant nest. Lu Yuan's heart trembled as he hurriedly continued fleeing. Behind him, screeches and the sound of ants scuttling could be heard. Lu Yuan ran a certain distance and saw that there were a few forks in the road. He casually chose one and continued fleeing. On his way, he ignored the small stone men and black scorpions he encountered, allowing them to attack him freely. Just like this, after he ran for roughly half an hour, Lu Yuan could no longer hear any sounds behind him. Only then did he stop in a tunnel with no ferocious beasts. He leaned against a wall and panted continuously. After calming his breathing, Lu Yuan glanced at the transparent mucus on his body and frowned. Because of it, he found a corner and put away all his genetic armaments and clothes before using clean water and shower gel to wash them. Only then did he feel comfortable. After changing his clothes, Lu Yuan wore his armor again. Because of the battle against the three catfolks and ant swarm, several scratches could now be seen on Lu Yuan's armor. Repair for genetic armaments had to be done by weapon refiners who specialized in it. Lu Yuan didn't know anything about weapon refining, so he naturally couldn't repair it himself. Hence, he could only wear it despite its damaged state. Luckily, his bug claw sword was an elite-grade weapon. Its toughness was much stronger than his armor, so it was still in pretty good shape. Now, Lu Yuan found a place to sit down and started to take stock of his gains. Firstly, it was the 3 genetic armaments. 2 were leather armor and 1 was a dagger. Although they were just common grade, they could be sold for $10,000 or more respectively. There were also materials. Lu Yuan didn't have any chance to collect materials from the sand ants he killed, but the 3 catfolks had dropped plenty of them. Small stoneman's hearts, venomous scorpion stingers, underground palace spider silk, sand ants tendons. There were many varieties and a total of 200 materials. The total price of these materials added up could reach tens of thousands of dollars. These were just the beginning. The true climax was the number of spirit crystals that stacked up so much, to the point that they resembled a small mountain. Earlier, just the 3 catfolks had dropped a total of over 1,000 spirit crystals. After that, they killed close to 100 sand ants, and there were roughly 200 spirit crystals dropped. He obtained roughly 1,500 spirit crystals here. As for the others, it was due to Lu Yuan's killing of the sand ants. The total number of spirit crystals Lu Yuan obtained was at the very least 1,500 as well. It also meant that earlier, Lu Yuan had killed over 500 sand ants. One must know that the 3 catfolks were working together, and they were completely devoured merely after killing close to 100 ants. Yet, Lu Yuan was working alone, but he had killed 5 times the number of sand ants they could kill. Earlier, Lu Yuan had grown numb with the killing. He was merely dodging and attacking on instinct, slashing with his sword and absorbing the spirit energy within the spirit crystals to maintain the activation of the black iron body. He didn't think that he would actually kill so many sand ants. Seeing the mountain-like pile of spirit crystals, Lu Yuan couldn't help but reveal an agitated smile. From the looks of things, being a guard type does have its advantages. If my battle technique wasn't something like the black iron body that emphasizes defense and it was a battle technique that leans toward attacking instead, I wouldn't be able to ignore the sand ants' attack and would have been injured and devoured by the ant swarm. Maybe guard types would find it cumbersome when they encountered gene fighters with fast speed. However, when facing a crowd of ferocious beasts, the strength of guard types was immediately exhibited. This was especially so when it complemented his ability to absorb endless spirit energy instantaneously from spirit crystals. It could be said that he was cheating. In this underground palace that was full of ferocious beasts, his advantage was simply too great. Comparatively, his somewhat slightly cumbersome speed was no longer as important.